Do you think end of the world is going to happen in our lifetimes, as we know it?
It's a relative term.
Yeah.
You know, do I think that there will be major disasters that happen in our lifetime? Yes.
Yeah.
I think that we've seen some already.
Yeah.
I also think, I mean, if we're talking about, you know, natural disasters, yes, I think that there's a lot of evidence that also, if there's a direct link between the effects and changing environment and that corresponds to certain natural disasters and hazards. Floods are going to get worse. Hurricanes are going to get worse due to temperature changes. Water, I mean, granted, I am not a scientist at all, but there is I can tell you and give you links to a body of scientific evidence that shows this. And I've also, in my career, seen it happen. I mean, look at the floods that happened in West Virginia last June.
Yeah.
Look at the flooding that happened recently in New Orleans.
Yeah, I actually, when I was working with AMS, we learned a lot about like the different types of flooding and how like the big major event flooding is the things that people talk about the most, but there's always like the inconvenience type flooding that's like just happening all the time, where just like basements are just flooding and people don't hear about it because nobody's dying, but it's just like it's just becoming more common.
Property
now.
damage is a huge thing that people need to take into consideration, but life saving and life sustaining is always number one.
Right.
So the thing is, I mean, also in another good case in point, there's been more historic level flooding that hasn't been able to even be predicted, like Ellicott City flooded. It was like 1,000-year floodplain or something.
Yeah, dude. I actually, like, one of my really good friends from Baltimore is an artist, and she's also a tattoo artist. She's really cool. She had a warehouse filled with art in Ellicott City.
Oh, no.
It was completely destroyed.
Oof.
So it was like all of the art that she has made in her career was just like gone in the blink of an eye. Yeah, it's just really sad.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing about disasters, and also the thing about like there's part of emergency preparedness if we're just going on the natural one. I can give you my talking points, or we can just kind of let it flow. But one of the things, I mean, related to art, that it's really important to do, and this is one of the pieces of being prepared for emergencies that people really don't think about.
Yeah.
And it's protecting your critical, like, documents.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, the deed to your house. Or, your... No, I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. Yeah. I'm not kidding. Being able to have copies of your critical documents.
Yeah.
Your bank statements, your, copies of your driver's license, your birth certificate, things that you need to be able to get things.
Right.
Another thing is in terms of property stuff, like you were talking, like property damage, like we were talking about earlier, when it's a blue sky day, that's going to be the best time to prepare for an emergency. Like maybe taking pictures of your house with no damage.
Yeah.
So when there is damages, you can be able to prove to the insurance company that, hey, this didn't look like this before. This was a direct result of whatever happened to you.
Yeah.
Remember when we were talking about the effects of the changing weather and environment? I'm trying not to say climate change because that's a bad word.
Yeah. Why do you say that?
Why do I say it's a bad word?
Yeah.
What's a bad word?
Oh, it's a word that usually I've noticed that if people who have any sort of bones about the effects of climate change and they hear the word climate change, they'll just stop listening.
Okay.
So I, as part of good public relations, try and say it in other creative ways so people will just listen.
Yeah.
But it's much longer and it's a lot harder to say. I mean, you could say the effects, the changing environment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But, so the thing is that, like, it is a possibility that there will be more severe earthquakes. And it is a possibility that there will be earthquakes in places where there are not usually earthquakes. Also, there is a lot of fracking that starts happening around, like there have been earthquakes at the 4 and 5 on the Richter scale that have been recorded in Oklahoma, places where there are no fault lines. There shouldn't be any earthquakes, and it's a direct result of fracking, and that's what happens when you push a bunch of stuff under the earth, and it's a cause and effect.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, I did actually hear that.
And there is fracking that happens in Pennsylvania, and it's not really directly in the Philly area. It's not something you immediately need to be worried about, but it's a thing.
What do we immediately need to be be worried about?
The most common hazards in Philadelphia, are you asking me?
Yeah.
Like, the most common hazards in Philadelphia are going to be storms, severe weather, winter weather, and all of its, associated effects.
Yeah.
Icing, and then the effects that all of this has on, different critical infrastructure and your home and the stuff. And
Yeah.
And so, storms that, also the effects of hurricane, the effects of tornadoes. Tornadoes are totally possible. They're not, we don't have as much risk as living in Tornado Alley, but it's still a thing that can happen. It's also a thing that can happen as a result of hurricanes. So.
Yeah.
And,
nuclear war?
Yes. Also, there's a lot of, I was only even touching the tip of like natural disasters, but man-made disasters are definitely a thing. Chemical spills are definitely something that we would need to worry about in Philadelphia. Also, the effects of a nuclear incident or accident at the plants. Any one of the plants, we're overlapping in like 3 different, I think, like secondary hazard zones.
Really?
Yeah, there's I think the closest plant to here is in Limerick, Pennsylvania. Oh my God, am I misplacing? Maybe it's called the Limerick Generating Plant. And then I think you also have Surrey, and then there's the one in New Jersey.
Jeez.
And yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot in the Mid-Atlantic. There's a lot of nuclear power plants. However, I will say this: with the nuclear power plants, they have a really, really robust safety capability, and their plans, like, they exercise like every couple months. So
yeah,
it would have to be. I feel like it would be much more likely for there to be an incident rather than an accident.
Do you think that's in reaction to what happened in Fukushima, or do you think that was like safety measures that were implemented before?
That was a result of 3 Mile Island.
Oh, wow, okay. That was a long time ago.
Yeah. I can also say, as a matter of fact, that there has definitely been some strides and a lot of really good preparedness measures that have been taken as a result of Fukushima, and also international cooperation that has occurred since that, and as a direct result.
But yeah, speaking of nuclear disaster, this like pissing contest that's happening with like Trump and Kim Jong-il right now.
Oh, North Korea?
Yeah.
Yeah. What up?
Yeah, but you don't think people should be like building bomb shelters or anything like that?
So, here's what I think people should do. I think that people should talk to their loved ones, circle the wagons with their loved ones. Circle the wagons. Do you know what that phrase is? Circle the wagons means bring their loved ones together. And so that phrase, what it means is, when you say circle the wagons, like in the times of the pioneers, what traveling groups would do at night is they would circle up their wagons to provide like a layer of like physical protection against like marauders and also the elements, and they would camp within that. And the way that they would circle is so everybody's watching each other's back.
That kind of reminds me of how, like, you know how they say that's like what elephants do, or like wildebeest. You know, when they like know there's a predator, they like put all the babies in the center and then they all face outwards.
Yep.
That's really cool.
So you got to circle your wagons with your friends, your token family, your loved ones.
Yeah.
And come together and make a plan. Talk about it. Talk about what you would do if there was an emergency. Talk about maybe different kinds, or do a general approach. And I would also say that people should build a kit of supplies so they can be able to survive for, generally speaking, people say 72 hours, but I say that if you can be prepared for 7 days or more, awesome. Get a bag that you can be prepared for 72 hours to a week.
Yeah.
Have supplies in your house that you can easily, be able to put in a car or take somewhere, like pails or buckets or something, of more supplies.
Yeah.
For more longer term kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, make a plan, build a kit, and then find out ways that you can stay informed, even if your comms are down. Like having a radio network with your loved ones, or having a weather radio, crank operated weather radio.
Yeah.
This isn't or, it's and. Right. It's always and. Having, redundant communication systems, signing up for wireless emergency alerts. I'm not trying to plug anything in particular, but I will say this. The FEMA does have an app that you can use that has not only like checklists that you could fill out, and they make really satisfying sounds when you're done with them too. It makes you feel really proud of it. Of like what you could have in your kit and what how you could go about making the plan. And also it has like this subscription service for like weather alerts that you can put up to 3 locations, and you can choose what you want to get informed of, so phone's not currently buzzing.
Yeah.
So that's a good one.
Yeah.
And it's all in one.
Yeah, dude.
So that's a good one.
Yeah. I had like a...
They also, if you don't do the app thing, ready.gov has all of that stuff there.
Yeah.
That's one I've noticed that's pretty good.
I think that, like, I had this very, like, sobering up moment, again, when I was working for AMS, and we had these people come in that, like, gave a presentation that was all about the Cascadia subduction zone. And
we just did that. We did that. Or I know that there was, an exercise called Cascadia Rising.
Oh, really? Yeah. I think it's been getting...
It was huge.
Yeah, it's been getting more attention.
There's a lot of press about it, too. People were like, oh my God, it's great.
Yeah, but I just remember when these people were, like, giving this presentation, they were just like, okay, you just had, like, an 8 or 9 scale earthquake. Like, what are you going to do? Oh, you're going to go on your phone and no, the towers are gone. Oh, you're going to check the internet? No, it's all gone. Like, what are you going to do? And, like, I think that a lot of people just, like, when they think about what they're going to do in an emergency, that's, like, the first 2 things. Like, oh, I'm going to call someone for help, or I'm going to, like, check the internet. But it's like, what do you do if those 2 things are gone? And I feel like a lot of people just, like, don't even get to thinking about that.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the, the stay informed part.
Yeah.
You got to find multiple and redundant ways to communicate. And that also feeds into your plan. So I think it's really important for people to have, with their loved one, with their group, of whoever that is, have at least two meetup spots.
Yeah.
So if you live in the same city, like for instance, you and Lucas.
Yeah.
Y'all should have a spot that's not here. Well, though that would be the first, you know what I mean? But like, let's say for some reason you can't get here, or here is gone.
Yeah.
Where do you meet up in a city? Where's a safe spot that's kind of out of the way, but still within the city where you can meet up? And then you say, for this amount of time, we'll wait, and then have an out-of-town meeting spot.
Right.
That would preferably be like, maybe if you have like an out-of-town relative that lives in a nowhere place, a place like not a major city, another major city, a place that's kind of easier to get to, stuff like that. Or if you, a friend's place or something. Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Oh, that's like perfect. Yeah, and that would also be a place like, my thought is that like if you are able to have a place, like let's say that you maybe talk to Marlene and Jeremiah about it, and following that logic and be like, hey, can we, if emergency happens, can we use your spot as a meetup location? Also, they'll probably be able to get cell phone service when you can't, because like incidents are local. And localized communications will be taken out. Like, let's say, remember the earthquake that happened in D.C.?
Yeah. Everybody
in the D.C. area they all thought to do the same thing. They all picked up their phone and they wanted to call their loved ones and say, hey, did you feel that?
Yeah.
As a result, no one could make any phone calls. Texts weren't getting through, stuff like that. So, but you would be able to call out of the area. So let's say that you tried to call Marlena and Jeremiah, you'd be able to get through. Because they're not local.
Yeah.
And let's say you'd be like, hey, I'm at this spot. If Lucas calls, tell him. And tell him I will meet him, wherever. So they would act as almost like a sort of short-term dispatcher for messages and be able to keep them. Added bonus if you'd be like, hey, Marlene and Jeremiah, can I put some supplies at your place?
Yeah.
So I don't have to, use yours if I get stuck there for a while.
And they have chickens.
That's a really good spot.
Where the last time I was there, their chickens were just like wandering into the road, and I started freaking out, and I was like, yo, your chickens are just like out in the middle of the road, and they're just like, oh yeah, fuck them. They're just like,
whatever, they do that all the
if
time.
they die, they're just like, if they die, then they deserve it. It's like, oh, okay.
So
but yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of simple. If you really break it down, Like, because I know when you think about the end of the world and you think about nuclear war and you think about all of these things, because, like, they're different. I mean, granted, different hazards have a lot of different nuances to them, I guess you would say. But the bare bones part is all the same. No matter what happens, if it's bad, here's what you can do to protect yourself and those that you love.
Yeah.
Make a plan. Build a kit.
Yeah.
Stay informed. The staying informed part is pretty clutch. And that stuff is all free.
Yeah.
You can sign up for Alert Philadelphia, if we want to talk about local stuff, Alert Philly, it's all free.
Yeah.
They have those in most major cities too. And also in a lot of towns, they've got like emergency alert services and all that kind of stuff. It's all free.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a phone, you can go to your like emergency management place and be like, how do I stay informed if I don't have a phone?
Yeah.
And you give it to them. And if you're in a very small town and you don't have a phone to do that, there is a good chance that the local emergency manager will go take down your name and where you live and be like, I got you.
Really?
It could happen. It happens in some places.
That's cool. So do you think that like burners are like statistically like better prepared for this shit? Because they all got their hip johns and they're like.
If you can be prepared to go to Burning Man and survive on your own for a week, then you can fit it all in a backpack or a crate that you can carry for a long time. If you can fit your crate into a backpack,
so if
you are prepared to have. Then you have a kit. Then you have the kit part down.
Right.
Talking feed yourself, have water, and stuff.
Right.
It's easy. Actually, being prepared for most emergencies is a little bit easier than Burning Man. Actually, it's a little bit easier sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about Burning Man is like completely self-sufficient Burning Man.
Yeah.
But that also, like, if you can't be completely self-sufficient, because it's very hard to do that kind of thing, that's why you need to have your wagon, your wagons of people. You got to have your group, your loved ones, rely on each other. You should also, at the same time, so being radical self-reliance is really what we're talking about here. Being radical.
So it is like Burning Man.
It is totally like Burning Man.
Should we get guns?
If you, do you know how to use a gun?
No.
You should probably know how to use a gun.
Okay. Right.
Knowing how to use a gun is more important than having a gun.
Okay.
I would think that it's up to the individual on how comfortable they are with a gun. And a gun is also, it's additional weight. It's a responsibility.
No, totally. But it's like
things. But in the scenario that you described, where there are no laws and there is a lot of conflict, it would probably seem like a good idea to be able to devise ways to protect yourself.
Right.
If a gun is one of those ways that you want to pursue, you should know how to use a gun.
Right.
Guns are also expensive.
Yeah.
Ammo is expensive.
Yeah.
And it's heavy.
Yeah.
Back to the skills, though. So there's a lot of
original
things.
fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, original fire.
So there's this whole, what I think, when you prepare for emergencies, I think you should do it with a mind towards a couple things. Like your general overall concept. You're like, I want to prepare for emergencies. I want to prepare for the end of the world. Think about how you can make your preparedness sustainable. I'm talking about sustainable in terms of long lifespan and long term, and also sustainable towards the environment. It's a twofold kind of thing. What that translates into is learning how to do a bit of bushcraft, bushcrafting and woodsman skills, learning how to garden. So, that's the skills portion. And that's also if you don't know how to do it, you can have a person for that.
Get your farm person.
Yeah. If you want to, in your group of people.
Yeah. Get your farm person.
No, get people that have good skill sets together. Skill sets that
right.
complement each other.
It's funny because sometimes when I think about.
But you should also know at least a little bit about what they do.
Right.
Let's talk about specific skills.
Yeah.
So, for instance, gardening.
Right.
And plant cultivation and foraging.
Yeah.
Foraging is huge. There are so many ways that you can be able to eat well in the woods. There's stuff that even grows in the city on the on-ramps of Philadelphia that you can eat.
My brother eats bugs.
Yeah, you can eat bugs. You can eat lots of different kinds of plants. You can use them for medicine.
Yeah.
This is how we lived for a really long time.
Yeah.
Our modern society has been an absolute crutch, and it's been a wonderful, very comfortable crutch. It's been like, you know, it cuddles us, and we forget how to survive.
Yeah.
If we take our modern luxuries away, and that is what will kill a lot of people if the world ends.
And I think that's really like
and
that.
In the end, only you can help yourself on that. So you got to find a way to learn things.
Right.
There are lots of books on it. There are also classes.
Books and classes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think that's really what
having a
hits
field
home
guide in
for
your
me.
go kit is also, you know, maybe a good idea. Like for medicinal plants and like poisonous plants.
Yeah.
Things that can kill you and things that can save you. Things that are good to eat.
Yeah, I think that's really what hits home for me is it just like we just like exist in this world where we don't have to think about foraging and we don't have to think about gardening and we don't have to think about like any of these things. So that
And
when
yet
it
there
finally
are
does
local
happen,
classes that happen on a like fairly regular basis. In our publicized, I see them. There was one actually going on this weekend in relation to foraging and plant cultivation.
Yeah.
And there are whole like clubs and, you know, like societies of people who still do this kind of stuff, and they want to teach people.
Yeah.
However, there are at least 7 really easy ways that you can be able to sustainably be able to create fire with a fire starter. But yeah, getting a fire is one thing, but like learning survival first aid.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, and the life-saving stuff is really important. You don't have to be an EMT or a paramedic to know how to stop the bleed.
Yeah.
People always think, oh, I just need to call for a medic. And that's literally what kills people sometimes, is people standing by doing nothing and being like, you need to apply pressure onto the wound. You need to apply a tourniquet. You need to get somebody out of danger.
Right.
You can't fuck this up.
I feel
if it's that bad, the person's already so bad off that like you literally cannot fuck it up. Everything you're gonna do is either gonna kill them quickly, like, you know, like they're either gonna die anyways, or you're gonna help them.
Right.
Like, you know, but the extra credit portion of that would be learning some wilderness first aid, like how to do a splint, how to set a bone, how to do all this stuff. Like, what if there is no more ambulance?
Yeah.
What if the ambulances are very busy and they don't have time for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
You should know how to help yourself.
Right.
And help others.
Yeah.
I definitely, one of the most important things in your kit has got to be your first aid kit.
Yeah.
And your first aid kit should be robust, and it should be stuff that you know how to use. And also be able to use stuff that you find around from your environment, like that you could be able to use for wound care in case your first aid kit gets really low. Like you can use willow as aspirin. You can use willow bark.
Yeah.
You can use honey for wound care. It's great. Actually, people use it out in the field, like currently. As organic as possible, with the high sugar content. You know, with that high, like crystalline type of stuff.
Yeah.
You should be able to have one that's specifically for you, that somebody else can use.
Yeah.
If they see you and you need help, you say, go in there, get all the stuff, and that's for yours.
Yeah.
Then have one so you can be able to help other people too.
Yeah.
You know, you should be able to also know about like how to cook, even when you're roughing it. You know, and about like food safety, especially in terms of, you know, like how long you can eat meat before it sits out, like while it sits out.
The TDZ, otherwise known as the temperature danger zone.
Yes. Yeah. Fight back. Fight bacteria. Do all of that, and also maybe learning how to, like, you know, let's say you have a garden and stuff like that. Why don't you learn how to can?
Yeah.
Learn how to can it. Learn how to put it up.
Yeah.
Other skills include learning how to tell time with the sun.
Oh, that's actually...
Learning how to do navigation. Learning a little bit of, you know, tracking, bushcrafting type of skills. Camping skills.
Yeah.
Sanitation skills.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Sheltering skills. Learning how to make a shelter in the woods. That's a really important one. Trapping, fishing, hunting, all that. But, you know, there's levels of emergency preparedness. There's definitely levels. There's a lot of extra credit stuff you can go for.
Right.
But in the end, no matter what happens, no matter the disaster or the scenario or the end of the world as we know it or whatever, it really boils down to make a plan, kit.
Yeah.
Stay informed. Get involved. Practice it.
Mm.
Exercise it. You know?
Well, I think that like
try it out. See if it works. See where it doesn't work, and then take some notes and go to correct it.
yeah.
And the one way you can do that without seeming like a total paranoid freak or nerd is being like survival camping. Like go camping.
Yeah.
Go to your
to Burn Man.
place. See how long. See if you can't use a car.
Well, I think
If you have time,
right.
You know,
I
or
think
just
it's-
plot out the route as you're driving along or whatever.
Right.
So in terms of one skill set, first aid.
First aid.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, learn how to save lives. Think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
True.
If you ever have doubt,
No, that's
think
smart.
about the shit that you need to survive
Yeah.
and go from there. Like life saving first,
Mhm.
food, water,
Food. Yeah. Water.
learn, and that also, but a lot of that can go into like the kit portion of things. You know what I mean? Like have food, have a water purification system, whether
Yeah.
it is a dropper full of bleach and know that it's 1 part to 20 for water, and that the water will taste like crap, but it will be okay.
Really?
You should figure out the shit that has expiration dates, write it down, put it in a sheet, and then when that shit's about to come up, like make a note of it or something and be like, hey, I'm gonna go do that starter challenge or whatever and go use my shit if I haven't used it yet. And I do this. I have I have several notebooks that have like terms, skill set stuff, things I need to know, and it's just one book, whole lot of really important information for me to be able to do what I do. In how that translates into emergency preparedness is make a brain book for like your first aid stuff, or like your plants, like edible and medicinal plants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, the things that you see on the internet that you're like, oh, I should learn that and remember that, because you're not going to. You
Yeah.
can write it down.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.